I am on campus today, so the internet is a bit slow. Okay, I hope we get the right subtitle or issues when we stop our lecture last week. Today I'm going to talk about capacity of man and malleability of nature and responsibility and judgment. Okay, these two are the moral dimension of Tawhid. Remember last week we were discussing three principles, and these three principles um, explain the nature of man, or if you go to philosophical discourse, when you want to know the nature of something, you are actually going into the ontological discourse of the thing, or the ontological issue of the thing. Like when we talk about what consists of nature, kan, who is man, and what is what is alam around us, and who is God. These are the ontological question. And then we have also addressed the teleological question. Teleological purpose. The purpose of existence. And today we are going to talk about the um, moral, or in philosophical discourse we call it the axiological. The axiological discourse of nature, or we would call it also the moral dimension of the nature. Especially when we talk about the creation, because of course God, in comparison to the creation, God that is not susceptible. God does not fall into the law of nature. He is omnipotence, he is omniscience. That's why he is capable of doing anything that he wants. And this moral dimension is not supposed to be tied towards him, even though of course we have discussed about his nature. Like for example, he is ar-Rahman, and it is impossible for him not to have this Rahman as attributes. For this, you need to relate with what you have learned about um, his attributes, or sifat Allah. Maybe you have heard about this Tawhid Uluhiyah, Rububiyah, Asma wa Sifat, and what are the compulsory or something that is imbued in his attributes. Sifat-sifat wajib, sifat-sifat harus, and sifat-sifat yang mustahil. The impossible attributes of him. That it's impossible for him to be evil if he described himself as Ar-Rahman. Remember this? This have been studied when you were small, perhaps in kindergarten and in school. Now we want to know also what is the moral dimension of this creation, given that God is not susceptible to that moral criteria, or moral obligation. Now man does have a moral obligation, because we are given the freedom and capacity and free will to choose our action. So we are free to will, we are free to exercise our action, but then Allah is the one that uh, realize the action. If Allah does not permit, then the action will not take place, kan? So that's why as Muslim, we always say inshallah, because if Allah permits, Allah will make things happen. If Allah does not permit, fire did not burn Prophet Ibrahim alaihi salam. Water will not cover Prophet Musa alaihi salam and his followers. Because Allah intervened in the nature, in his sunnah, and stop the fire, stop the water from functioning accordingly. Now, say for example, in the case of fire, in the case of water that uh, did not behave the way they were supposed to behave, would they be punished because of failing to perform their nature? No. They were not supposed to be punished because they were tawan wa karhan. They were designated as such. Yeah? So Allah designed fire to burn. But then when Allah interfere, the fire does not burn. And fire was not made responsible. But man, with sanity, can that's why in fiqh you learn a lot about this, that you become mukallaf. Mukallaf. The term in fiqh that you learn is mukallaf. Mukallaf means that you are sane, yeah, you are sane, and then you have the uh, freedom to exercise your will, yeah, and you have the capacity, yeah, to bring about your will. Say for example, you have an evil intention towards someone. Yeah? At first, you have the will, the determination, and then you act towards the behavior, that action. Yeah? And then you exercise that action. Of course, say for example, you want to harm someone, but then Allah does not permit you to, say for example, to put this person into death, or to give him what you call it, to inflict it in him a more severe condition, because he did not permit him. So perhaps even though you are armed, but you are unable to harm this person for many reasons lah. Maybe this person managed to escape, or maybe um, um, what you call that, you were not able to put him down, so on and so forth. So basically, we follow Al-Ash'ari, yeah, the founder of Al-Sunnah wal Jama'ah. Not so much founder, but someone who is regarded as one that is establishing this moderate path, yeah, Ahlus Sunnah wal Jama'ah, the path that is agreed upon by Muslims consensusly, yeah. Uh, so Al-Ash'ari say, well, if Allah permits, He will uh, make the action happen. If He does not permit, He will not make the action happen. But to make man responsible and liability for his action, man needs to have this free will, and man has the ability to exercise the action. Therefore, in fiqh also you learn that if, say, for example, if someone is forced to do something, this person is alleviated, yeah, from being responsible. Say in the case of divorce, if a husband is forced to divorce the wife, yeah, will the divorce take place? No, the divorce will become kinaya, isn't it? Because the husband will have to give testimony to the court, to the qadi, whether he really meant to divorce his wife. That's why you see the Shafi'i mazhab is very stringent when it comes to divorce. Like, even if you have pronounced divorce, outside the court, but when the divorce is pronounced without any evidence, or someone hearing it, listening it, or witnessing it, you are still you will be still called to the court, and you will be asked to testify whether this is what you meant or not. Or if, say for example, you send WhatsApp. I hope this will not happen among my students. You send WhatsApp, you divorce your wife, even though it seems that the sentence is clear, yeah, but then you still have to testify that and pronounce that in front of the qadi or in the court. All right, so this is all about capacity of man. Now, why is it important for you to why is it significant that man has this capacity? Because only with this capacity man can be made responsible. Yeah, that's why the people without sanity, yeah, those crazy people, insane people outside, yeah, they don't realize what happened around them. Yeah, so therefore they were not made liable or responsible for their actions. They don't have moral obligation. Yeah, people who lost his sanity does not have moral obligation, and that is also the reason why there are three conditions when someone is lifted from being responsible. Kan, say for example, you forgot to pray. Tapi if you forgot to pray because either you are overslept, or secondly because you faint, yeah, or thirdly because you totally forgot, then you are lifted from the responsibility. So it is important to know that we are made responsible, and responsibility is the one that give the values, give us our values or moral values. Yeah. So if you look at this concept of tawhid altogether, this concept of tawhid give you the explanation or the answer for the questions pertaining to ontological, teleological, and axiological, and especially, at the very bottom or at the very foundation of these three discourse or philosophical discourse of existence is epistemological lah kan. Epistemological, yeah, how do you know things? Yeah, you know things because you acknowledge metaphysics. Yeah, but if you do not acknowledge metaphysics, you will not be able to understand the ontological of this nature. Yeah, you will not be able to understand or recognize the duality of nature, the relationship between nature. Yeah, you will not be able to recognize the purpose of this creation, yeah, of our creation, yeah, and why creator, why there must be creator. You will not be able to understand what your responsibility is in this world. You will not be able to understand why there are so many things, so many diverse and different things in the nature, why people of other religions exist. Yeah, and you will not be able to understand what moral obligations that man has towards this nature. Yeah, and whether it is just enough for man to be made answerable to his behavior. You will not be able to understand that. That's why you see uh, non-Muslim, for example. Let me see. Non-Muslim, for example, the atheists, for example, they were not able to uh, stand with this world because the world does not give meanings to them. They don't know why they are here. Yeah, even when you study other religions, can you find that other religions are trying to make sense to understand why existence is here. Some religion or one particular religion say that the world is suffering. It's no point to be in this world. It's better to live in voidness because voidness is the ultimate. Some religion thought this world is so unfortunate, so it makes you trapped in this world. You are like in a cyclical kind of life. You're born, you're born, and then you die. You're reborn, you're born, and then you die, and then you're reborn again. So until you are able to be liberated from this cyclical of life, karma samsara. Some religion or particular religion look at this life as not only suffering but also as the outcome of your sin. Well, not your sin, of somebody else's sins. The first man's sin, and then you inherit that sin. And for you to be able uh, um, to get rid of the sin is only by recognizing or acknowledging that this first man has sacrificed himself, let himself be crucified to redeem for the sin. You see, all these explanation from different religions are actually the avenue where they were trying to explain the relationship between the ultimate and their present in this world. But look how Islam helped us to understand how, why, how, and what we have to do in this world. This is pertinent questions in Tawhid. Yeah, rightly answered. Yeah, but I think most of us, because we are born Muslim, we never thought about this. Yeah, And sometimes I would say that when we want to know what is the nature of our existence, why are we here, where are we going, we fond of or we prefer to go to philosophy instead of going to usuluddin. Yeah, for example, we go to philosophy just like Descartes. Yeah, because I told you in the last class, if I'm not mistaken, yeah, that the Bible is there. Descartes uh, by born was a Christian. Of course, he can get the answer if he really wants to know the nature of his existence, because everything has been stipulated and explained in the Bible. Yeah, in the Hebrew Bible or in the Old Testament. Yeah, but then he didn't want that explanation. He was so confident that he can find the answer only by contemplating, only by making reflections, which somehow he managed to find the answer, and that's why he said cogito ergo sum. Yeah? I think therefore I am. Why is that so? Because yes, Allah has created that we are capable of making sense or understanding things with many of the resources that we have in ourselves. Yeah? We have akal, and we have all the senses that can help us to relate ourselves with the Creator, and this is Tawhid. Now, before I finish the discussion on this concept of Tawhid, I want to highlight two important terms that is so crucial with regard to our discussion on Islam and other religions. Yeah? The two terms are transcendent and immanent. Yeah, what is transcendent? Transcendent is, greatness, mightiness. You say Allahu Akbar, so Allah is mighty. Yeah, and then immanence. Immanence mean that um, something that is blended together with this world. Yeah, something that is blended together with this world, but it has actually supernatural character. It is not the physical thing, but it has supernatural character, sort of metaphysical elements. But this metaphysical element manage to blend with nature to the extent that it can be part of nature. Okay, so one of the good example of immanent is Jesus Christ himself, because Jesus Christ is God that acts in this world. God in the figuration of man. God that walks in history. This is how they explain it, immanent. And if you look at pantheistic religion or polytheistic religion, these are also the examples whereby God is perceived as immanent. Yeah, maybe you have learned in world religion too about Hinduism and Sikhism. Yes, Hinduism speak about personal God, God that has attributes and characteristics that man can relate with. So one God attributes is, very much a sustainer God. Another God that has the attributes of destroyer God. The other God attributes is more of creating. Yeah, this Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva. And there is also another God that is very impersonal, very transcendent, too far and above, and he does not come down to earth. He does not walk in the history. He does not relate with men. He is basically in his own world. That is the Atman, the highest soul. And this highest soul only embrace you if you are capable of relieving yourself or liberating yourself from the karma samsara. Yeah, but then in Islam, of course, we speak about Allah as transcendent, but the concept of Tawhid also explained to us that no matter how transcendent he is, but he is so much closer to us than our jugular vein. That he knows what is in our heart. He knows what we want. He knows our wishes, even though we never pronounce it. Yeah, he knows whether we are sincere or not, isn't it? Yeah. So this is his transcendent character, that in Islam we speak of Tawhid and his transcendent character, but he is not altogether separated from us. That's why it is Tawhid. Remember the first question that I asked you about Tawhid. What do you mean by Tawhid? And then you say oneness of God. So I ask you, what do you mean by oneness? You know, because if Allah is single, then it's not Tawhid. It's Wahid or even Ahadun, right? But Allah is not only alone and selfish in that manner, but also he relates himself with us. That's why he teaches us Tawhid, that I am God, I am single, but I relate to all of you. Yeah? Remember, I was talking about his attributes, so we are capable of relating ourselves with him. It is interesting also to know that with regard to diversity of religions, why diversity of religions exists, it is because of man's inability to understand um, his relationship with the transcendent. This is the case with other religions. So therefore, if you look at the principle, most of the religions perhaps can accept or can subscribe to the first principle, uh, creator and creation. But when it comes to the second principle, the ideationality or the relationality, yeah, is a command, is mandatory. Then these religions have different ways of explaining the relationship. Yeah, just imagine how Buddhism explain the relationship. First of all, Buddhism does not recognize the first principle, creator and creation, because uh, when you ask the Buddhists how this world is created, don't be surprised if especially modern Buddhists would subscribe to Big Bang theory. They cannot comment that God create this nature just because this has never been discussed by Buddha, Siddhartha Gautama Buddha. Yeah, I remember I asked one really Buddhist religious leaders, yeah, what is about the cosmogony and cosmology, and he says that in Buddhism, because he's modern Buddhist, yeah, and secular Buddhist, so he said the Big Bang theory is the most subtle explanation about the creation of this world. It's not God that creates. Why? Because the scripture, the Buddhist scripture, he never talks about the cosmogony, the creation of the world. Even never talk about who God is. Never introduce who God is. Even when the followers are Siddhartha Gautama Buddha, please help us, explain to us who God is. What did Buddha say? Buddha say, no, the more you try to understand him, try to know him, the further you are from him, because he's just like the sun. The more you look at the sun, the more you lost your visibility, isn't it? The more you cannot understand or you cannot comprehend uh, its existence. All right. And with regard to Christianity, let's take a look how Christianity, first Judaism lah. Maybe we talk Judaism first, historically speaking. How Judaism explain God. Yeah? You know that in Judaism, God is regarded as the ultimate God is known as the Yahweh. Yeah? And this Yahweh is too far and above the extent that even to pronounce it is impossible. Yeah? To spell it, it is impossible. So it is spelled in such a way that make it impossible for men to pronounce Yahweh. Yeah, but then of course this God has other names, just like in Islam we speak about his attributes and his names kan. In Judaism also they have that. So most of the time they will relate themselves to the attributes, to God's attributes, yeah? Like for example Elohim, yeah, and this Adonai, yeah? But they do not relate to this transcendent God of Yahweh, because Adonai and Elohim and some sectarian within Judaism believe in the Son of God, Ezra, so they relate themselves with Ezra or Uzair. Yeah? So you see, this is how they understand the word transcendent and how they apply the word immanent in explaining the relationship. Now, what about Christianity? Christianity is also interesting in explaining the concept of transcendent because God the Father is the transcendent God. This God of the Father is spelled out in the Bible as the God that creates everything in 7 days. Yeah, in 6 days. But then in the 7th day, what happened to him? He felt so tired and he just rest. So this is God the Father that make things happen, but then he let the world to run by its own, and he sent his mediator or agent to help to relate with man because he is too far and above. He will not be able to come down to tarnish his characteristics or his nature or his ontology. So he needs to have another mediator who was Jesus Christ, yeah, to relate with men. So you see, this is how diversity of religions happen. Why? Because man differs in understanding his relationship. Why man differs in understanding his relationship? Because even though Allah has sent the prophet, but uh, men fail to be guided by the prophets. Men fail to be guided by the prophet. Perhaps in the beginning they manage to be guided by the prophet, but after some time they forgot, or maybe they have distorted the teaching. So just, the story of the prophet in the Quran explain to you how man deviates from the right path. You can relate to the story of the story of the followers of Prophet Musa alaihi salam. What happened to the followers of Prophet Musa alaihi salam? Prophet Musa left them only for a while, because he said that he was called by God to give him some revelations. Yeah? He was asked to go to the Tur Sina to receive Torah. So he left them for a while, for a few days. Yeah? But what happened? They, while waiting for the revelation to reach them, they create a structure. Yeah, Samiri created a structure. Yeah, and a golden calf, kan? And then submit to the structure. Alright. So that's about it. How men become deviated from the right path. And Al Faruqi mentioned this and speak about this again and again in his work, Islam and Other Faith. So Al Faruqi said it is, why men deviate from the right path? Because of the work of the history, time and space makes men forgotten about revelation. All right. Okay, now we go to the core of this course, which is the definition of religious pluralism. Yeah. I believe some of you may have joined webinars, yeah, conferences and talks on religious pluralism. Some of you may have clear idea about what religious pluralism is, but today I would like to extend a little bit and inform you that this foundational and basic idea of pluralism may have evolved because it has been discussed under philosophy since the Greek time. Yeah, so pluralism is not a new philosophical discourse. Yeah, it has emerged since the time of a Greek philosopher. Yeah, but let's see how it brings meaning, how it is defined today. Okay, so what pluralism is, of course, from a very literal meaning, yeah, from the word plural, yeah, and it refers to the idea of manyness, yeah. So it refers to the state of more than one, two, or three. Yeah. So you have all these terms lah, plural society lah, political plural. That is political pluralism. Many lah, many term comes with the word plural, but that indicates the idea of many. Yeah. But of course, it is also important when we talk about pluralism. It is not only about the manyness, it is about how to understand the relationship between all these entities. Different entity, they are not the same, they are not common, yeah, they are so different, yeah. So when you talk about pluralism, it is a philosophy that deals with differences and divergences, and in the modern Western worldview, divergences or differences always signify what? Signifies conflicts. So this is the keyword why pluralism or religious pluralism bothers modern philosopher, modern theologians especially, and modern Christian theologians to be more specific. Yeah. Okay. Let me go to the next slide. Um, So pluralism as a philosophy is a response towards the diversity and multiplicity that challenge human life. Yeah. That pluralism in general is a philosophy that helps men to understand diversity and the conflicts behind the diversity. Yeah. So pluralists most of the time wanted to propagate that, or aim to propagate that pluralism as a mediating ground or the middle ground between absolutism and skepticism. In the discourse of philosophy, yeah, in the discourse of philosophy, especially philosophy of morality or ethics, yeah, pluralism is regarded as the moderate position between what? Absolutism. Yeah. What is absolutism? Absolutism is the view that only one, yeah, only one value or thinking, yeah, is valid, yeah, and then other thinkings or other values as invalid, yeah, as invalid, while absolutism, while skepticism, yeah, mana dia tadi, okay, skepticism on the other hand is the extreme of absolutism, that there is no single values, there is no such thing as certainty in our knowledge. Yeah, there is no certainty in our knowledge because knowledge is always pertain to subject, yeah, very subjective. Yeah. So you have every individual will have his own opinion about certain things, and this contributed to the many interpretations of the things or of the nature or of the value. So pluralism is the middle ground because pluralism recognize values, yeah, in the sense that it recognizes that we can know things. It's not that we cannot know things altogether, you know, especially in the context of God, certainty of religion. Yes, we can know God, we can know true, what is true and what is not true, except that we cannot impose. Yeah, we cannot impose that truth, this concept of truth to people because uh, every man is liable to this interpretation. Yeah, and that explains the creation, or that's explain the reality around us. Yeah, and that's it. And that's it. So there is no interest in the pluralists to venture into the question whether our knowledge towards the truth, yeah, uh, is need to be verified, in this regard. For example, when you speak of morality kan, when we say that honesty is an ethical behavior, yeah. So it's not a question of whether this it is right or wrong, yeah, that honest, to be honest is right or wrong. It's beyond the purview of moral pluralism. Yeah, because if it is right to a certain people, maybe it is not right to another group of people. But given that it is right to the certain people, then it is right. But that's it. Yeah, you do not venture into more. Now, it comes to religion. This is more hazardous, especially when you speak of, uh, the ultimate truth in religion. Yeah, for example, you learn in world religions, kan, uh, world religion one and two, Trinity, the concept of Trinity. Yeah, Mosha, yeah, the concept of Mukti, and also Nirvana, Yahweh. So, what are these? These are absolute truth. Yeah. Are they wrong? No, you cannot say that they are wrong because they are subjective true or relatively true to the believer. Alright? And actually, this concept of pluralism has emerged in the time of philosopher. That's why I say here, all phenomenon, new awareness, because actually the Greek philosophers have been talking about or have been deliberating about how to understand nature, how to understand existence. Kan? Remember we were talking about TAWHID? So TAWHID is the explanation of the existence. Yeah? But Greek philosophers argue whether the existence is composed of plural nature, dual nature, or single nature. Yeah. So you have let me show you this. Yeah, so you have that the dualist, yeah, or dualism, that speak about nature composed of two entities, yeah, two entities, and then they explain the nature or the relationship between these two entities, yeah, as either they are in union, yeah, or in unity, sorry, in union or unity. That is monism, the philosophy of monism, that at the end of the day, this nature is actually single. Yeah, in the context of religion, just like what the Buddhists believe in nirvana, yeah, what the Hindu believe in moksha, and what the Sikh believe in mukti. Yeah, because you know existence is actually in unity, in union. I think the best word to explain that is union. Yeah, and also there is a worldview, ideology, or quasi religion, I would say, that believe the world is the nature is separated. Yeah, the nature is separated. So, well, maybe God is there, but this God has nothing to do with the nature. He creates the nature and then he let the nature to run by itself. So this is a kind of dualism, yeah? And there is also another kind of dualism which says that, well, God never exists altogether, but it only exists in human mind. Yeah, this is also a form of dualism that may lead to atheism. Yeah, may lead to atheism. Okay, and also pluralism. Pluralism believe that the world is a composition of 100 million thousands of atoms. This seems to be the most surviving school ideas about the world, the theory of atomism. If you learn usuluddin in Arabic, maybe you have encountered the word falsafatul zarrah. Yeah, this is what the Greek philosophers speak about the creation or the nature of this world composed of many entities. So basically, what I would like to summarize with regard to this definition of pluralism, it is not a new philosophy altogether. It's as archaic as the Greek philosophers, yeah, the time of Anaximenes, Anaximander, yeah, Protagoras, yeah, all these sophist philosophers who tries to make sense of the existence. Yeah, except that this philosophy penetrates into religion, the understanding of religion and religions and diversity of religions, because modern philosopher, yeah, as you perhaps have learned in your philosophy class, yeah, there was so much influence, yeah, influenced by either Descartes, yeah, rationalist, the father of enlightenment, yeah, or they were influenced by Comte, Locke, John Locke, Auguste Comte, Thomas Hobbes, who believe in sensual perceptions as means of knowledge, or they are also what else lagi satu, or they were staunch believers of Kant, Immanuel Kant, the prince of enlightenment, yeah, who believes that reasoning is the most valid answer for why man needs religion. So reasoning justify why religion is needed. Yeah. So that's about it. I think in terms of epistemological background of pluralism. Yeah. Now, with regard to religious pluralism, it is good that I introduce you how it is interpreted by the pluralist as well as the exclusivist theologian of today. Yeah. Of course, if you look at the literature, many scholars or pluralists lah, especially, they subscribe to religious pluralism in its very simple and basic meaning. Okay. I think this is very what you call that. This is the shortcoming of understanding this philosophy. This cannot be, yeah, because when you say that it is a philosophy, it is a philosophy. So you cannot understand philosophy at the level of understanding its literal meaning. Yeah. What do I mean by literal meaning? Many pluralists believe that religious pluralism is the belief in the existence of many religions. Yeah. Um, Many pluralists such as Arvind Sharma, even Paul F. Nietzsche, yeah, even Leonard Swidler, who else? Um, Ellen Reyes. Let me spell out all these pluralist scholars' name. Um, apa lagi? I cannot recall now. Arvind Sharma, I've mentioned this name. Ellen Reyes, Paul F. Nitter, Leonard Swindler. There is also this one, cannot recall. Believe that religious pluralism refers to the manyness of religion. Even Muslim scholars, yeah, Muslim scholars such as um, apa tu, Muhammad Ayub, ya, Abdul Aziz Sachidina, ya, Mahmud Ayub, Abdul Aziz Sachidina, and then Hashim Kamali, Usman Bakar, to name some of them. They believe that religious pluralism pertains to the idea that there are many religions. Yeah? But I think, to be fair, to religious pluralism as a philosophy, we have to go beyond that literal interpretation. I remember talking to Prof. Usman Bakar, one of the great professor. Of course, I respect him so much. Yeah, he's our uh, very prominent philosopher who studied from Ismail Raji Al-Faruqi, who studied from Syed Hussein Nasar, yeah, who get the companies of great prominent philosophers of the modern days lah, yeah, because he get his education in the US, yeah. So I actually confronted him, once upon a time, when I managed to meet him right after he came back from being the chair at the Georgetown University. He was the chair of the Malay study, if I'm not mistaken, at the Georgetown University. When I did my PhD in 2000, I wrote to him because I found his article online, which made me a little bit confused. Yeah, because at first I thought that religious pluralism is kind of shirk. Yeah, and then when I read his article, he kind of subscribed to the idea of religious pluralism, and that bring a lot of dilemma to me, and to a certain extent helped me to develop the statement of problem for my thesis. Yeah, but he was so approachable. I was nobody at that point of time. I contacted him. He was in the US, holding the chair of Malay study at Georgetown University, and he responded to my email that time. But then, once I finished my study in 2004, yeah, and I think after some time I met him. He went back to Malaysia, so I had some ideas lah kan. Of course he's a professor kan. I was nobody at that time, even though I have completed my PhD. So I kind of question Prof. It is impossible lah for us to take religious pluralism as religious plurality, because it is a philosophy coined by a significant philosopher. It has lots of meaning. So Prof. Osman said to me, Haslina, we redefine it. Okay, so if you say, for example, came across Osman Bakar in his literature, and his support for religious pluralism, bear in mind, because he only subscribed to its literal meaning, and he wants to redefine religious pluralism, because in his opinion we should not allow, or we should not let John Hick to claim the what you call it, the authorship of meanings or definition of religious pluralism. I think I can respect for that differences, yeah? Which means he say that if John Hick define it wrongly, we should define it correctly. This is exactly what he wants to do. But anyway, yeah, anyway, I think with due respect, he has that way of looking at the meanings, yeah, while I prefer to look at the different aspect, because then I said to him, I remember saying to him that, then Prof, it's very difficult every time when we talking about religious pluralism, we have to make a disclaimer lah, sort of disclaimer that my version of religious pluralism is not Hicks' version of religious pluralism, which I can see that many current pluralists did. For example, Diana L.X. Yeah, we will talk about Diana L.X. In the next class. Diana L.X. differentiate her version of religious pluralism to that of John Hick. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to share with you what I perceive, or what some of the scholars perceive as religious pluralism, and this has to be given attention, serious attention, because it is something that is not uh, not familiar to Tawhid. Yeah, it is not familiar to Tawhid. Yeah, it is foreign to Tawhid. This is what I mean. So religious pluralism, in my opinion, some scholars' opinions, that it's not only about the quantity of religion, it's about not only about the manyness of religion, but most importantly, religious pluralism is a philosophy that deals with plural truth claims. So you have to remember this keyword, yeah, plural truth claim. Religious pluralism is a philosophy that deals with the plural or diverse truth claim. What is truth claim? Can I get your response on this? What is plural truth claim, or what is truth claim? Uh, Firstly, let's discuss what is truth claim. What did you study in World Religion 1 and 2? Your Religion 1 and 2 deals a lot about deals a lot with truth claim. Bagi contoh. Cepat. Give me example. Do you want me to call names? Hanani. Hanani Raihan.
Yes,
To make
madam.
sure that
Sorry?
can you answer? Give me the example of truth claim, uh, the type of truth claim or example of truth claim that you study in either World Religion 1 or World Religion 2.
Oh, I haven't taken World Religion 1 or
Oh,
2.
sure.
Yeah.
Ya ke? Why? That is 2000 level tau. You dah ni dah 3000 level courses dah pluralism ni. Oh, saya tak ambil lagi.
But is it, for example, like in Judaism, there's only one God that exists?
And who is that God?
Yahweh.
Okay, so Yahweh is truth claim for the Jews. What about other? Thank you, Hanani. Let's ask the other students. Some other students. What? Give me an example of other form of truth claim. Maybe Khairul Anwar.
Uh, Psychological, maybe like Christians, they believe in the concept of Trinity, the God of
Mm-hmm.
Father, the Holy Spirit, and Jesus,
Got the Son. Yeah. So this
the
is
Son.
truth claim. These are truth claim in Christianity. Thank you, Carol, and thank you, Hanani. Yeah. So
Okay.
religious pluralism deals with this. Yeah. So can you just imagine going back to this ontological meaning of pluralism, kan? Just now that you deal with this truth claim, but you do not do anything about it because, well, they are truth they are truth subject to the way their followers perceive them. You know, the Christian perceive the truth as so, the Buddhist perceive the truth as so, so on and so forth, and that's it. What do you think whether this is celebrated by the idea of Tawhid? Kan? If you understand properly, you find that religious pluralism challenge Tawhid because the concept of Tawhid exerts that the absoluteness of God, yeah, the absoluteness of the belief of or the absoluteness of the truth, certainty and absoluteness of the truth, but without denying the existence of this. Okay, please note that there is
Sorry, madam.
or there are differences. There are differences between Tawhid and pluralism, yeah, or religious pluralism, because the concept of Tawhid, yeah, uh, underscore or exert the absoluteness of the truth without denying the existence of others. Okay, without denying the existence of others. Tapi pluralism, yeah, exerts the absolute truth, the existence or the absolute truth, that is truth, while recognizing the plural truth. Faham tak? In Tauhid, it exert the absolute truth and the existence of other truths. Only their existence, coexistence, but not their absoluteness. Kan? So, when you relate it to religion, it means that Tawhid help us to understand there is only one absolute truth but the rest of the religions, they exist in this world. They coexist. This is the extent of uh, Tawhidic understanding of the many religions. But pluralism acknowledge the absolute truth. Yeah, they are that is absolute truth, and they are also other truths together with the absolute truth. Yeah? Except that this absolute truth pertain to particular religion. So, Trinity pertain to the Christians. Allah pertains to the Muslim. Yahweh pertains to Judaism. Altogether, they are not absolute truth. They are truth. They are only absolute truth as with regard to their own believer. So Muslims take Allah as the absolute truth. A Christian take Jesus as the absolute truth. Uh, Judaism takes Yahweh as the absolute truth. Yeah, but this absolute truth is not the ultimate truth of everyone. So there is a sense of relativism in understanding the absolute truth, because this absolute truth is not universal. It is relative and subjective. Can you differentiate between Tawhidic paradigm in understanding truth, plural truth claim, and pluralism, the philosophy of pluralism, its paradigm in understanding the plural truth claim? Can you differentiate or not? Boleh faham ke confused? Can I
Confused,
can I hear
confused me.
confused?
Yep.
Okay, how's I? Jadi, okay, the concept of Tawhid advocates that is absolute truth. And Allah is the absolute truth. Why? Because He is the creator. He creates everything. So He relates to everything. He is in this regard absolute truth. He is the universal truth. He is not the God of the Muslims alone. He is the God of everyone and everything. This is what we have discussed, kan? Because He creates everything. Nothing is not created by Him. So He is the absolute truth. He is the universal truth. You understand the word universal, kan? Yeah,
Yes.
Yes,
universal.
yes.
Universal is beyond time and space. He is a God of everything, everybody, at every time, at any places. He is the God of the universe. He is the God of this planet Earth. He is the God of the star. He is the God of, Pluto, Neptune, Venus, and Mars. Okay, so he's not God only to man. He's God of everything. He's a universal God. That's why he is absolute. But he also tells us that they are religions. Man creates their own belief system. Yeah. So he tells us that you will find that you are going to live with people who do not take me as the absolute, because they create for themselves their own absolute God. So Judaism, Christianity, Buddhism, Hinduism created for themselves their conceptions of absolute God. So Allah tell us that Muslims, you are going to live with these people who, despite um, the prophets that I've sent, despite the guidance that I've given them, but they deprive themselves from the guidance, and they look for themselves the answers. without the guidance. So they found their answers. They thought that, Trinity is their God, Moshe is the ultimate, yeah, so on and so forth. So this concept of truth exists, propagated by this region. This is the reality of this world. So even though I am the absolute Muslims, listen to me. Even though I am the absolute, but you will find that men who are blind fail to sense my absoluteness. Yeah, for many reasons. Yeah, are um they are deprived from my guidance. Either because they are following their uh, forefathers' belief system, or they are too fanatics about their religious leaders, or they were led astray by people, or they do not want to think further, or they simply turn down my guidance towards them. So you find that they will call for different concept of absolutes. This is how Islam, or this is how Tawhidic paradigm tell us about the existence of many religions. I mean, you cannot eliminate this altogether because people will continue to lead themselves astray in understanding the truth. Yeah, even though I am very clear here, like I have guide them, but they fail to recognize me. Yeah, so you will be living with this type of people. Yeah, this is coexistence. Yeah, that's why yeah, in the paradigm of Tawhid, you recognize their existence, but not their truth claim. The Tawhidic paradigm recognize the existence of different religions, but not their truth claim, because the only valid and absolute truth claim is owned by Allah Subhanahu wa Taala. This is Tawhid. Yeah. But then pluralism, on the other hand, recognize uh, the absoluteness of the truth. That yes, man can know the truth, yeah, and man knows the truth differently. And even though man has different knowledge about the truth, these truths are valid as far as that particular followers or believers are concerned. So, Christianity, for example, yeah, exert the idea of Trinity, yeah, that is absolute truth for the Christian. So that is sort of relatively true for the Christian. Islam speak for Allah, so that is relatively true for the Muslims. The Buddhist belief in nirvana, that is relatively true for the Buddhists. But then nirvana is not the absolute truth for the Muslims. Allah is not the absolute truth for the Christians. So this absolute truth is only pertains to the followers of religion. And what does that ended up? That ended up into the existence of plural truths. At the core of religious pluralism is this. And this is what the father of pluralism, John Hick, is trying to propagate, which many of the pluralists fail to recognize, fail to acknowledge. So they have either they subscribe to the literal meaning of pluralism, or either they reinterpret religious pluralism, just like Professor Usman Bakar and Diana L. Act, yeah, or they expand the idea of religious pluralism of John Hick. Yeah, and today religious pluralism has evolved into more sophisticated idea, yeah, and encroaching into social and political relationship. Yeah? All right. So I hope you are able to understand the differences between religious pluralism as a philosophy, yeah, as a philosophy in comparison to those who take the meaning as literal, and why religious pluralism is foreign to Tawhid. Because the concept of Tawhid only recognize the existence of living together, but not the truth claim, because truth is not relative. Yeah. Um, there is one, Ismail Raji Al-Faruqi made a very powerful statement in his work titled Christian Ethics. Yeah. What did he say? Yeah, he said that if a God is relevant to particular believers, this God is not universal God. I think this is a very powerful message of him uh, that explain or that rejects pluralism or religious pluralism, because we know that the concept of Tawhid tells us Allah is the universal God. He is the God of everybody and everything. So He is not the God that pertain to only one group of people or certain period of history or certain space. He is a universal God. In comparison to, whenever you go into a dialogue or you talk to non-Muslims, they will say like this, they will say like, actually, all religions teaches good things, God is good, all God is good, and we all religions teaches the believers to be good. Can you see the differences? Yeah, so as if that, the god of the Hindus asked them to do good, and that's why he is the ultimate. God of the Muslim asks Muslims to do good, and that's why he's the ultimate. But this is not how it is in Islam. In Islam, there is only one single God, and He is universal. He's not only the God to the Muslim, He's also the God to the Hindus, He's also the God to the Christians, He's also the God to the Buddhists. Except that the Buddhists, the Hindus, the Christians did not acknowledge this universal God because they have their own interpretation of the absolute. Alright? Understand or not? And pluralism support for this way of interpretation. Yeah, so you see, in a narrow technical sense, philosophy of religious pluralism refers to an interpretive theory concerning how one should handle the competing truth claim made by the many religions. Yeah, this is at the core of um, religious pluralism. Okay, the other way of understanding pluralism is, of course, to compare between religious exclusivism and religious inclusivism. Yeah, now we are going more deeper. Yeah, alamak, we are exhausted time, but very quickly, what is exclusivism? Exclusivism is the idea that, alamak, mana dia tadi? Exclusivism is the idea that only one religion is true and other religions are wrong. Yeah, so religious exclusivism celebrates that only one absolutist claim other is correct and other are wrongs. Inclusivism believe that all religions are partially true, but there is only one true religion. And pluralism saying that all religions or each religion makes a common reference to a single sacred or transcendent or ultimate reality in different perspective. So every religion is considered offering a way of salvation to God. So this is at the crux of religious pluralism, that all religions are ways to salvation. All right. So inshallah, I will in the next class we will explain, or I will tell you, I will share with you why religious pluralism was formulated. What was the historical background that led to the formulation of religious pluralism? But then remember, next week when Tuesday is public holiday kan? Betul kan? Tuesday 18
Yes.
public
Yes.
holiday. Betul tak?
Yeah.
18 ke 19? Sorry, 19. Prophet Muhammad's birthday kan? So we will meet
Yeah.
on Thursday. Yeah?
Okay, Nida.
Alright. Thank you all. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you,
Waalaikumsalam.
Waalaikumsalam
Assalamualaikum.
warahmatullahi
Waalaikumsalam,
Waalaikumsalam
wabarakatuh.
madam.
Thank you, madam.
Thank you,
Thank you,
madam.
madam.
Thank you, madam.
Alright.
Thank you, madam.